Gold dips, but a US warship was just attacked. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Ainslie Insights, brought to you by Ainslie Bullion, Ainslie Crypto, and the Gold and Silver Standard, as the Ainslie Group celebrates 50 years. Today, we welcome back Sam to talk about something I'd missed with all my attention squarely focused on the Bitcoin ETF approval this morning, but probably much more significant that I should be paying attention to. Happy New Year, and how are you going, Sam?
Great. It's good to be back, Chris. Been quite a long break.
It has. That's why I'm struggling a little bit today. All this break, get away, party too hard by the sounds of it.
Too much screaming.
Too much screaming. So yesterday, I know I was speaking to Branko, and it was certainly on my radar, paying attention. The Bitcoin ETF, and you reported in the news today other stuff that was going on that sort of slipped my radar completely. So, what have you been looking at, and what's really caught your attention for today and going forward?
Well, this week so far has been really, really boring for news, since Monday. But then suddenly everything's happening. So obviously we have the Bitcoin ETF being approved actually today, although fumbled. We have the CPI that's coming out tomorrow. That'll be half past midnight tonight.
Yep.
And now there's more conflict in the Red Sea happening. And this is what similar to what we covered a few weeks ago that caused the gold price to spike quite high. So that conflict has gotten much worse in the Red Sea, and there have been missiles flying.
Definitely going to need to dig into that because that's the one that I wasn't really hadn't popped up on my signals at all. So we're all looking forward. Before we do that, let's look at the CPI stuff because that's really important to look at that. But does the Red Sea is that more important than this? What's going on there? How is this relevant?
Well, it adds to the mix. With the CPI, we're looking for weakness to trigger the Fed to stimulate, as usual, as the status quo has been. With this conflict in the Red Sea, it's a lot simpler. It's not hard to figure out at all. Increased conflict, especially with not just tensions or arguments, but missiles flying at warships, which is what's happened. That's very simple. It gets people to, historically speaking, pull out of risky investments and move money directly into gold.
Hmm.
So it's not necessarily people trying to predict what's going to happen with inflation or what the Fed's going to do. It's people bypassing central bank policy and saying, okay, I want to get out of things just on a personal basis because it's looking dangerous. Like there's going to be, you know, a bigger war potentially.
So much more reactive rather than sort of trying to forward play. I suppose you could argue it doesn't really matter what happens with the inflation if everyone's focused on the here and now with an
Yeah, it's
escalating conflict situation.
it's really significant because this area, firstly, it's a shipping lane. Uh, Almost every country in the world that ships things significantly has to send it through this region. And if it's destabilized, if there are missiles flying around and potentially stopping their shipments from coming through, whether it's oil or whatever it is, that's a huge problem that drags in a lot of different countries. The parties involved. Okay, you look at the parties involved. The United States was involved. The UK was involved. So a quick breakdown: the group of ships in the area were attacked by Houthi rebels from Yemen, and they shot a range of drones and anti-ship missiles, really technical, high tech weapons at U.S. warship. Now, the UK ship was able to take out several of the drones. I believe it was take down 7 drones out of the sky. And then a team of F-18 fighter jets, as well as some U.S. destroyers, took out the rest. So you're getting the UK involved, the US is involved, and then Iran is involved. So Blinken was really quick to point at Iran for giving the technological capabilities to the Houthis and also, potentially supporting them or funding them. So that's the parties involved. And then lastly, the severity of the attack. I mean, we had between 21 to 24 high-tech weapons being fired at US and UK warships. So that's you can't get much worse than that,
Yep. And
direct shots at superpowers. So
I think that's the point that really struck me when I was reading your news this morning. Um, we've been through this last 12 months of conflict, and it feels like nothing's really happened. Obviously, there's been a lot
Mhm.
happening if you're in those countries impacted, but for the rest of the world, it felt like nothing really happened. Life went on as per normal. Um, is this a little bit different? Because it certainly feels that way from what you're saying. Is there the potential here for this to spread into something bigger than what we've seen over the last 12 months? So, yes, we've been effectively on a war footing for, more than a year now, but is this, for lack of better terminology, the real deal?
Yes, well, a country directly attacking the U.S. That's a pretty big deal. I mean, U.S. having an aircraft carrier in the region and having destroyers in the region, and attacking a UK warship as well, and the general who supposedly did the attack went on television and said it's about the U.S. supporting the Zionist entity of Israel. So Israel's dragged into it, US is dragged into it. Iran's being dragged into it thanks to Antony Blinken, US Secretary of State. He came out straight away and basically pinned it on Iran as being, the big daddy of the Houthis. And then where's China going to go? Where's Russia going to go? Who are they going to side with? If the situation escalates, if Iran is dragged directly into this conflict. So I personally think it could be a huge mess. And we talked about this in December. Is it going to get worse? Well, it has gotten worse, and it doesn't look like there's been any mediation. In fact, the Houthis said that they're just getting started.
Certainly
So,
seems like escalation over mediation there for sure.
mhm.
So bringing this back to gold, precious metals, but gold probably in particular as the safe haven in this type of environment. Do you have any targets in mind? Any idea of what you think this push could do? Because I know we certainly talked last year a lot, right throughout the year, about that big cup and handle pattern that was unfolding. It was almost like it just needed a spark to allow that technical process to push through to new highs. But is does that come into play here? Have you got any sort of thoughts around what this could actually mean for gold?
Yes, and we have a really good example that happened almost exactly just 1 month ago. So in December, now we can't completely pin it on the drama that's been happening around the Red Sea area because obviously, Powell was speaking around the same time as well. But the weekend after an attack much smaller than this happened in the Red Sea region, gold against the Australian dollar spiked $200 higher than it is now.
Right.
Okay, now people have their eye on CPI tomorrow. I think that's drawn some attention away from what has just happened, which is much, much worse, much more dramatic. And when the markets actually absorb this, could this potentially move gold higher than, $200 higher than it is now and test or potentially break those all-time highs? Well, we'll see. The CPI is coming out soon enough. It's going to be 12:30 a.m. Tonight or tomorrow morning, I should say. And then maybe this news will be able to be processed or digested by traders with the full picture.
Sure. And like you said, sort of at this or earlier, we had nothing. It was a bit boring, and then all of a sudden everything happens all at once. So it
Mm.
feels like we're certainly in that phase all at once at the moment. So lots to pay attention to over the next coming hours, really days, and potentially weeks ahead, depending on how this all unfolds. So we'll be back to you for updates on that as we go. But thank you for your work on that today.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me back.
Thanks everyone for watching. We'll chat again soon.